Peace and love, y'all. Happy Sunday. Thank you for that introduction. I'm so grateful. Yes, I am in Los Angeles, Tonga land. Although this is the Mother Earth that we all live on. Um, I want to first begin by saying thank you. It's always an honor to come and share with the Dallas Meditation Center. I want to take a moment to acknowledge my ancestors. I want to acknowledge my mother, my brother, and I must acknowledge my friend, Chi Sing, and my beloved and our beloved friend, Chi Sing, and master teacher, one of one, Brother Thich Nhat Hanh. What a gift their lives were to so many and still is. And so I am better because I received so many teachings from both of them. So I'm very, very grateful to be here. And I want to say during that meditation, I was getting all sorts of downloads. It was a deep meditation. And I was like, I'm glad I made some notes because I can go all the way to the left. I'm glad I had made some notes, and I'm glad that I have a timer. And more importantly, in this moment, I'm so glad that I know what peace feels like. And so the beginning of my topic is you have arrived. So I want everyone to take a deep breath in and blow it out. Good. Take another deep breath in. Blow it out. Now I want you to raise your palm, and I want you to imagine that you are holding a mirror, whichever hand you like, your right hand or your left hand. And I want you to imagine, as you look deeply into your own precious hands, I want you to imagine that you are looking at a mirror. So see that mirror, smile at yourself, and you can just whisper, I have arrived. I can't hear you whisper, but I'm trusting that you're whispering. And then take that same hand that was once a mirror, and I want you to rub your shoulder. Give yourself a nice little shoulder rub and whisper to yourself, I have arrived. And then take your other hand and rub your other shoulder and say, oh, I have arrived. And then you can go on and give yourself a big hug since you're already in that position, and just gently rock and whisper to yourself, I have arrived. And then when you're ready, you can just place your hands down. It is not by accident that we are all here at this time. We all showed up for a specific purpose, or we were called. And what a gift it is to be able to gather in the Sangha with good intentions. And I know how necessary peace is. I don't want to say now more than ever, because it's always a perfect time for peace. And I want to read a few definitions that I got out of the dictionary that describe peace. The first definition that stood out was freedom from disturbance or tranquility. And then the second definition, I had to take a minute because it says a state or period in which there is no war or the war has ended. Now, I know y'all are living in this same world that I am living in. There are wars and rumors of wars. If we just think about the state of the world, and I'll just give a couple bullet points, but don't hold on to them too tightly. But I just want to name the things that are happening that can disturb our peace. Because as it says, a state or period in which there is no war or the war has ended. And I'm here to tell you that you can have peace even in the midst of the battle, even in the midst of war. Just a couple unfortunate facts. Gun violence is on the rise. The rates of anxiety have increased. We know what COVID has done, what it is doing to so many different people. Um, oh my goodness, the war on Black and brown bodies in particular, the war on women, the war on earth lovers. There are all sorts of things that can potentially disturb your peace. But even in the midst of all of that, I want to invite you to redefine what peace means to you. Find it for yourself so that you can be in a space of tranquility more often than not. I'm not going to say you're going to be peaceful all the time, because the path, we're in earth school, and the path can be windy, it can feel mountainous. And there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of confusion. And still, we can find a way to lean into perfect peace on the path. And one of the ways that I have found that helped me on this path is recognizing that I have already arrived. And as I mentioned in the description of the talk, we are in a hustle and bustle culture. You got to grind, no sleep, no rest, all these messages that we've been given as children. If you want something, you got to put your bootstraps, whatever the quote is, something about bootstraps and pull yourself up, which we know that is an illusion, because none of us are here by ourselves, and none of us are really pulling ourselves up. It is a collective experience that we're having. And so I started thinking, I remember, so I'm close to Deer Park Monastery, and I've been a part of that Sangha for many years. For those who don't know, it's one of maybe like 4 or 5 monastic homes founded by Thich Nhat Hanh. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful place going towards San Diego. And I feel very fortunate to kind of have that in my backyard and to be able to visit as often as I like, or as often as I can. And one of the messages that you see as soon as you get to Deer Park is, I've arrived. You have arrived. And I love that, because if you know Los Angeles traffic like I do, sometimes you can be in it for 2.5 hours, 3, 4 hours, and then you get there and you're like, my goodness, thank you, Ty, for reminding me that I have arrived, because my emotions are all over the place. And so it's so wonderful to be reminded that this is it. This is it. The grand opening and the grand closing. Who knows what the next 30 minutes may look like, the next hour, the next 10 years, the next 20 years, whatever. Right now, this is it. And so we might as well find a way to lean into peace with where we are, knowing that you've already arrived. And for me, that takes off some of the pressure, to know that you've already arrived. Because can you imagine all the angst that you feel when you're trying to get somewhere? Some of you may have felt some of that angst trying to get to the Dallas Meditation Center today. We're constantly like, I gotta get there, I gotta get there. Ooh, but how sweet it is. How sweet it is to recognize that here is there and you're here. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive and that you shouldn't make improvements or do your part, to fulfill your life mission, to fulfill your calling. But this concept of being here now and I have arrived, it's a way to relax into the present moment. Relax into the journey, it's been really, really helpful. And I think I want to go back to the whole concept of, I intentionally put perfect peace, and that means different things to different people. And I also, before I go there, I want to acknowledge that many people show up at DMC with their own stuff. We all show up on the planet with things that we inherited from various factors. I want to acknowledge that feeling peaceful is not as simple as turning on a light or turning it off. I don't want to spiritual bypass, and I want to acknowledge those among us who are trauma survivors, who may have never even known what peace means. And I say known because I feel like peace, this path of peace has shown itself to be more of a remembering, a remembrance. You know, we've been talked out of ourselves, walked out of ourselves, denied in so many different aspects that it's easy to forget peace, you know? And so I want to acknowledge those who may have difficulties recognizing it. And I want to invite you to think about in this moment, what makes you feel peaceful? What makes you feel peaceful? Is it seeing the ocean? Is it being around loved ones? I know for me, I find peace when I'm forest bathing, when I'm around trees, I'm hugging trees, when I'm laughing with my sister. My goodness, looking at a baby. I held a precious baby yesterday, and that made me feel peace. So think about the moments in your life and times in your life when you felt peace. It could be a nice bath. It could be a delicious meal. It could be in meditation. And again, for those who may not have a quick reference, because I'm going to say, if you sit long enough, you do your practice, you meditate long enough, that spaciousness of peace, that beauty of peace, that familiarity of peace will come back. But for those who are having a little bit more trouble tapping in, I want to invite you to use your radical imagination. If you may never have, if you don't remember what peace felt like, I want you to imagine what you want peace to feel like and see where that lands in your body and see where that lands in your heart. And it helps to do a temperature check, you know. So as I am placing my own hand on my heart, I invite you to do that. I know I'm giving a lot of information right now. So just if you feel comfortable, place your hand on your heart. Just take a couple breaths. Blow it out. And so I want to remind you that on this path of peace, I want you to remember that this is a friendly universe that really does love you. I know sometimes on the path, it can feel like you're in a maze. Wiggle your fingers if you've ever felt like, oh, this is a setup. I'm in a maze. There is no out. There is no end to this. What are y'all talking about? You know, that's all of us if we're honest at some point. And I love reminding myself that, you know, it's not a maze. And I've been looking at it like the path is like a labyrinth. Have you ever walked a labyrinth? You know? And then there's that message at the beginning of the labyrinth that like invites you to be here and there and just reminds you that, you know, trust the path. So I want to say that, you know, there'll be many twists and turns, as we know. Keep on living. Things can shake you at your core, but keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. I also want to remind you that you don't have to go far to find peace. You know, you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to necessarily borrow it, although, you know, it helps. Sangha is really good. Sanghas are really good because when you're feeling low, it's kind of like you can borrow the energy from the people around you. And it's like, yeah, come on, fill me up with some more of that peace. I need that. But it doesn't really cost. Doesn't really cost. I also want to acknowledge that if you show up with truth and if you show up with love, like letting that be the energy that you show up with in truth and love, my goodness, that's arrival. Because so many of us spend our whole lives running away from the truth. And so to get to a space where you can literally show up as yourself in all your messiness and all your glory. Hallelujah. Me and Chi Sing we would have moments where we'd be like, yes, Amitabha, hallelujah. It's this praise. And the truth of the matter is we've all inherited some type of grit, some type of grit. We'll get some more grit on this path, but the practice of meditation and mindfulness and coming back home to yourself is like taking a bath every single day. It's like cleansing yourself every single day. And I love it. And so going back to my journey to Deer Park, and being reminded that I have arrived after being in traffic for so long, it feels even sweeter because my practice of mindfulness, my practice of meditation, my practice of centering myself, finding peace in the present moment, being able to look myself in the mirror and love what I see and celebrate the here and now in a society that's really based on capitalism and all of those isms, did not begin when I went to Deer Park. It did not begin even when I went to DMC, although it helped strengthen it. This is a practice that I had to do on my own by myself. And so I want to invite you all and to remind you all to sit longer if necessary. Do your walking meditations even when you're not inside Dallas meditation. The other day I was in the park and I was like, let me just take off my shoes. I had a lot on my mind. My peace was fleeting. And I was like, wait a minute, I know how to ground myself. And I know how to come home to myself. And I know how to be at home with the earth. So I took off my shoes in Santa Monica Park and I did my walking meditation and I didn't even care who was watching because I was watching myself. Gave me an opportunity to watch my own thoughts, In closing, I want to briefly talk about what it means to lean into peace. And I was reminded of a conversation I had with, a couple years ago, I worked for the Recording Academy, and they have this nonprofit called Music Cares, where they help fund artists who have fallen on hard times, which is great because a lot of musicians were, their money was stolen. So it's great that this organization is trying to help. And so I was speaking with this particular musician who was really suffering, right? And I was encouraging him. And when we got off the phone, his spirit had been lifted. And he said, you know what, sister? Hold on to peace. Hold on to peace. That's what he left me with. And I know when we think about holding on to something, it can feel really laborious and like, oh my goodness, whoo. Our teachings also talk about, practicing non-attachment. So holding on can feel really like counterproductive and all those things. And so when I was thinking about my topic, I was like, I love that resonated with me. Hold on to peace. That resonated. And then I started thinking about what does it mean to lean into peace, relax into perfect peace. And when you think about the way, what does it look like when you lean? Either you're leaning forward as a deep bow, you know, or you leaning backwards as a way of like, you know, I don't know, being in awe, being in absolute awe, you know. But either way you lean, there is support. If you're leaning on a wall, it's supporting you. If you're bowing, if you're prostrating, the earth is supporting you. Whatever higher power, if you believe in a creator, is supporting you. Your ancestors are supporting you. So the whole concept of leaning into perfect peace, it feels so great because you don't have to do it by yourself completely, you know. We go back to our mirror and we say, I have arrived. And yes, you know, this is an individualized walk, but we're walking as a collective. And so in closing, I want you to remember how we began. This is it. You've arrived. Show up with even more just good energy. Think about when you're showing up to a job interview, right? You're making preparation, you know, you're putting on your best clothes, your best attitude. I want to invite y'all to do that every single day, or at least try to show up every single day like this is it. I have arrived. And I will end, I keep saying I'm going to end, but this is for real. The quote from, because I get so happy, honey, I can just keep talking and I look at the time and I'm like, okay, girl, we got to have a talk back. But I think about what Maya Angelou says, I come as one, but I show up as 10,000. So as you go throughout the week, your life, your journey, trying to either find peace, leaning into peace, whatever the case, know that you have a bunch of people who are leaning with you. And if enough of us lean more into peace, we will rock this world in the best possible way. So that is it. Thank you for listening. Peace and love.